Let's dive deeper into these 11 transformative strategies, understanding how they can be practically applied in our daily lives and how they contribute to long-term personal growth. The first and perhaps most foundational principle of Stoicism is recognizing the dichotomy of control, understanding what is within our power and what is not. So many people spend their lives worrying about things they have absolutely no control over: other people's actions, past mistakes, or random events. This leads to stress, anxiety, and wasted mental energy. The Stoic, however, learns to direct their focus toward what they can control: their mindset, their actions, their decisions, and their perspective on life. When you stop worrying about external events and instead concentrate on your own responses, you become unshakable. Imagine two individuals facing the same challenge. One reacts with frustration and self-pity, while the other calmly assesses the situation and determines their next best move. The difference is not in the situation itself, but in the mindset of the individual. This is why cultivating self-awareness and mindfulness is so crucial in Stoicism. The second strategy builds upon this idea: embracing discomfort. Modern society is obsessed with convenience, but the truth is that personal growth happens outside of our comfort zones. The Stoics believed in voluntary hardship, fasting, exposing themselves to cold, or practicing minimalism, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood the value of resilience. When you train yourself to endure small discomforts, you prepare yourself for greater challenges. For example, if you have ever engaged in intense physical training, you know that the body adapts to stress and becomes stronger over time. The same applies to the mind. By regularly challenging yourself and stepping into discomfort, you build mental toughness. The third strategy is negative visualization, one of the most misunderstood yet powerful Stoic exercises. The idea is to periodically imagine losing the things you take for granted: your health, your loved ones, your possessions. At first, this may seem morbid, but in reality, it fosters deep gratitude. When you imagine what life would be like without something, you begin to appreciate it even more. Most people move through life always wanting more, never satisfied with what they have. But when you practice negative visualization, you start cherishing the present moment. You recognize that nothing is guaranteed, and this realization pushes you to make the most of your time. Another core Stoic practice is detaching from ego. The ego is a dangerous thing. It makes us defensive, prevents us from learning, and traps us in a cycle of comparison and insecurity. The Stoics understood that true wisdom comes from humility. No matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. The moment you think you have all the answers, you stop growing. Ego also makes people crave external validation, which is one of the biggest sources of suffering. Many people base their self-worth on their social status, their wealth, or the opinions of others. The Stoic, however, finds their value from within. They do not seek approval or recognition, but instead focus on living virtuously. They ask themselves, am I acting with integrity? Am I making decisions based on my values rather than my impulses? The more you detach from ego, the freer you become. This leads us to another important practice: journaling. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, kept a personal journal where he reflected on his thoughts, his emotions, and his growth. This practice of writing down your thoughts is incredibly powerful. It forces you to slow down, process your experiences, and analyze your own patterns of thinking. When you write daily, you start noticing recurring negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and emotional triggers. This self-awareness allows you to correct course, ensuring that your actions align with your principles. Journaling is not just about recording events, it's about gaining a deeper understanding of yourself. If you want to cultivate a Stoic mindset, begin writing daily. Next, we move into a strategy that underpins all Stoic teachings: living with virtue. Stoicism teaches that the ultimate goal in life is not pleasure, success, or wealth, but virtue, living with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Every decision we make should be guided by these core values. For instance, wisdom means making decisions based on reason rather than emotion. Courage means facing difficulties head-on rather than avoiding them. Justice means treating others with fairness and integrity, even when it is inconvenient. Temperance means practicing self-discipline and moderation rather than giving into excess. When you make virtue your guiding principle, you build character and gain the respect of both yourself and others. But what happens when we face loss, failure, or even death? The Stoics remind us to contemplate our mortality, a practice known as memento mori. Many people avoid thinking about death, but ignoring it does not change its inevitability. The Stoic, instead, embraces the reality of death, using it as motivation to live fully. When you remember that life is short, you stop wasting time on trivial concerns. You become more present, more intentional, and more appreciative of every moment. Another overlooked Stoic principle is speaking less and listening more. In today's world, where everyone wants to voice their opinions and prove their worth, true wisdom comes from listening. The Stoic recognizes that silence is often more powerful than speech. Instead of arguing, they seek to understand. Instead of reacting impulsively, they pause and reflect. This simple practice of mindful listening allows you to develop stronger relationships, make better decisions, and avoid unnecessary conflicts. Similarly, another strategy that Stoicism teaches is the importance of taking action despite fear. Fear paralyzes most people. They let the fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty stop them from taking risks. But the Stoic knows that fear is just an illusion. It is not something to be avoided, but something to be confronted. The only way to grow is to step into discomfort, to take action despite fear, to push through uncertainty. Every great achievement in history was made possible by someone who acted despite fear. The question is, will you do the same? Another crucial aspect of Stoicism is service, recognizing that life is not just about personal success, but about contributing to others. True fulfillment does not come from self-indulgence, but from acts of kindness, generosity, and service. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators were those who sought to create value for the world rather than just for themselves. If you want to build a meaningful life, ask yourself, how can I help others? How can I create value? How can I make a difference? By shifting your focus from self-centered goals to service-oriented actions, you cultivate deeper fulfillment and purpose. Finally, we arrive at the last but perhaps most essential Stoic strategy, practicing gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote to dissatisfaction. Most people live in a constant state of wanting, always chasing the next goal, the next achievement, the next material possession. But happiness does not come from more, it comes from appreciating what already is. When you train your mind to focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you develop inner peace. The Stoic wakes up each day and asks, what am I grateful for? They recognize that even the simplest things, a sunrise, a meal, a conversation, are blessings. And by cultivating gratitude, they become immune to the endless cycle of dissatisfaction that plagues so many people. In conclusion, the principles of Stoicism provide a powerful roadmap for personal growth, self-mastery, and resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. By integrating these 11 transformative strategies into your daily life, you are not just adopting a philosophical framework, you are fundamentally altering the way you perceive and interact with the world. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent to life. Rather, it is about learning how to respond to situations with wisdom, strength, and clarity. It is about mastering the mind so that external events no longer control your happiness and peace. Too often, people become prisoners of their own thoughts, constantly worrying about the opinions of others, fearing failure, or dwelling on past mistakes. But as we have explored, Stoicism teaches that true freedom lies in focusing only on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and responses. This realization alone can transform your approach to life. Imagine the power of no longer being controlled by fear, stress, or frustration, of knowing that no matter what happens, you have the inner strength to navigate through it. One of the most liberating aspects of Stoicism is its emphasis on mental resilience. Life is unpredictable, and suffering is inevitable. We all face setbacks, loss, and difficulties at some point. The Stoic mindset does not promise an easy life, but it provides the tools to handle hardships with grace and composure. When you stop resisting reality and instead learn to adapt, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. This is where the principle of amor fati, loving one's fate, comes into play. Instead of wishing that life were different, the Stoic learns to accept and even embrace every event, seeing obstacles as opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective is life-changing. Rather than seeing difficulties as personal attacks, you begin to view them as necessary challenges that shape you into a stronger, wiser, and more capable person. Every setback, every disappointment, every hardship becomes a lesson rather than a curse. Another profound lesson Stoicism teaches is the art of detachment, not from life itself, but from unhealthy emotional reactions and material attachments. Most of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the way we perceive them. We become too attached to our desires, expecting life to unfold in a specific way, and when things don't go as planned, we experience frustration and disappointment. But the Stoic recognizes that clinging to expectations only leads to suffering. Instead, they adopt a mindset of flexibility, understanding that life is in constant flux. By letting go of rigid expectations, they develop emotional stability. They do not allow external events to dictate their inner state. This ability to remain centered in any situation is what makes a true Stoic unshakable. Beyond personal resilience, Stoicism also teaches us how to lead a meaningful and virtuous life. In a world obsessed with material success, status, and external validation, the Stoic prioritizes inner virtues over external rewards. They understand that true fulfillment does not come from wealth, fame, or power, but from living in alignment with one's highest values. By prioritizing wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, the Stoic ensures that every decision they make is guided by principles rather than fleeting emotions or societal pressures. This shift in focus, from external achievement to internal mastery, creates a life of true fulfillment. Many people spend their entire lives chasing success, only to realize too late that they were pursuing the wrong things. But the Stoic recognizes that the real victory is mastering oneself. When you cultivate a strong character, everything else falls into place. The ability to handle criticism and rejection is another vital lesson that Stoicism imparts. In today's world, where social media and public opinion play such a dominant role in shaping people's self-esteem, many individuals are overly concerned with how they are perceived by others. Fear of judgment, fear of not fitting in, fear of disappointing others, these fears hold people back from living authentically. But the Stoic understands that other people's opinions are beyond their control. They refuse to let external validation dictate their sense of self-worth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." The moment you stop seeking approval and start living according to your own values, you experience a profound sense of liberation. You no longer feel the need to conform, impress, or prove yourself to anyone. Instead, you focus on being the best version of yourself. This is what true confidence looks like, not arrogance, but a quiet, unshakable sense of self-assurance. Another crucial aspect of Stoicism is taking action despite fear. Many people remain stuck in life simply because they are afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of uncertainty. But the Stoic knows that fear is an illusion. The only way to overcome fear is to confront it head-on. The more you avoid what scares you, the stronger your fear becomes. But the moment you take action, you realize that fear loses its power. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite fear. If you want to grow, achieve, and succeed in life, you must be willing to step into discomfort. Every great thinker, leader, and innovator in history understood this principle. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not intelligence or talent. It is the willingness to take action, even in the face of uncertainty. Lastly, Stoicism reminds us of the fleeting nature of life. Memento mori, remember that you will die, is not meant to be a depressing thought but an empowering one. It reminds us to live fully, to stop wasting time on trivial concerns, and to focus on what truly matters. How often do people delay their dreams, assuming they have all the time in the world? But time is the one resource we can never get back. The Stoic understands this and therefore lives with urgency and purpose. They do not procrastinate on their growth, their goals, or their happiness. They make the most of every day, ensuring that when the time comes, they have no regrets. By incorporating these 11 Stoic strategies into your life, you are choosing to live with wisdom, resilience, and purpose. You are making a conscious decision to rise above petty concerns, emotional reactivity, and external distractions. You are stepping into a mindset that allows you to thrive in any situation. The journey towards Stoic mastery is not easy. It requires discipline, introspection, and consistent effort. But the rewards are immeasurable. Imagine a life where you are no longer controlled by fear, self-doubt, or external pressures. Imagine a life where you remain calm in the face of adversity, where you embrace challenges with confidence, and where you find deep fulfillment in living virtuously. This is the power of Stoicism. The world is filled with distractions, temptations, and pressures that pull us away from our highest selves. But by grounding ourselves in Stoic principles, we create an unbreakable foundation. We become individuals who are not swayed by the chaos of the world, but instead navigate life with clarity and purpose. The Stoic does not merely survive, they thrive. They do not complain about circumstances, they adapt and overcome. They do not seek external validation, they find strength within. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, how can I apply these Stoic strategies in my life today? What areas of my life require more discipline, more self-awareness, more resilience? How can I live with greater wisdom and courage? The answers to these questions hold the key to personal transformation. Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it is a way of life, a path to true freedom, and a guide to becoming the strongest version of yourself. The choice is now yours. Will you continue to live reactively, controlled by emotions and circumstances, or will you step into your power and live with the strength of a Stoic? The journey begins now.